y usted lidera un proyecto llamado Vivir Restaurativamente, morir en paz. Me parece que usted hizo una tesis doctoral sobre ese tema. ¿Es así? Háblenos de ese proyecto.
Yes. So my doctoral project was on restorative processes, if you will, what many understand as restorative justice within interfaith peace building and what that looks like. And so, that looks like forgiveness, reconciliation, restoration, transformation, healing. In all of my years of the work that I've done, I've recognized that much of the work that happens after peace building, unfortunately, is a Band-Aid. And this is why conflict continues, right? Because there really is no true reconciliation or restoration or transformation or forgiveness and healing, because that's really hard. I mean, the reality is that to forgive somebody who has taken your family away or has caused you grievous harm or trauma, especially some of the women I've worked with in the world have injuries that are unimaginable, and men. And so the true reality of that work is, unfortunately, it is very, very difficult. And so once I graduated and kind of was out more in the real world, especially the international sphere, and kind of really grappling with that, last year, I decided to get my end of life doula certificate, which basically means it's not hospice. It's more kind of what can we do to help people die, if you will, more peacefully and easily. And at the time I was getting my certification, I was in Liberia, and I was doing a training when I was with Religions for Peace, and met several people, especially a woman who really affected me, whose husband had been assassinated a year and a half before. Even though Liberia is, post-Civil War 20 years, there's still violence happening in the country. And so it got me thinking as I was talking to her, is how this woman will ever be able to live in a way that allows her to be peaceful and to restore herself after such an immense loss. And the idea came to mind of this organization called the Living Restoratively, Dying Peacefully Project. And it's almost registered as an official 501c3. I'm working on it. And so the idea for this organization is to work with anybody really who has lived through conflict, but specifically women who've lived through conflict. And we had our first webinar last April, and one of the things that was mentioned from my friend and colleague Despina Namwembe, who lives in Uganda, is she works with women who have experienced incredible violence. One woman who had her lips cut off, and so the physical reminders of the trauma are not just internal, they're external. And so it got me also thinking, how can a woman who looks in the mirror every day and be reminded of something so horrible physically and internally, how can a woman like this die peacefully? How can a woman like this, is it possible for her to live restoratively? And so one of the reasons I named my organization a project was because it's ongoing work. And it's going to continue to evolve and listen to those who have experienced things that I hopefully will never have to live through, and want to be present for those people who have, and understand what it is they've experienced and how we can take those lessons from them and apply it to peace building work. And so hopefully someday we can be in a place where these kinds of things don't happen anymore. And I'm not sure that will ever happen. I want to be positive and believe it, but I also understand that the human condition is unfortunately, it hasn't changed for thousands of years. And so, I will continue to do this work and hope that it makes a difference in some of these people's lives and in the future of the generations to come.
Una persona puede decir, el proyecto Vivir Restaurativamente y Morir en Paz, este último apartado de morir en paz significa eutanasia. Ahí se está transgiversando el proyecto donde dice morir en paz. ¿No tiene nada que ver con la eutanasia?
No, it does not. I would highly support someone if they wanted to die peacefully, if they wanted to die by euthanasia. That's anybody's right, honestly. But this project does not focus on that. It's more the focus of how can people who have suffered trauma live restoratively now? How can they live now as peacefully as possible? So when they get to the time of their death, they are able to die in a space where they have forgiven and they feel, if you will, as whole as possible. Because so many of the people that I have met in the world carry so much trauma, and to move through life that way and then get to your death and never have resolved that at all or very little, for me, especially too, because I've done so much personal work from my childhood trauma, and I understand the benefits of being whole as I possibly can, and moving through the world as whole as I possibly can and as peaceful as I possibly can, to allow me to do this work and, to be at ease with my past, and to understand why those who harmed me. And that doesn't excuse it, but it enables me again to be able to be the somewhat decent human being that I feel I am. And so, yes, that for me is kind of the goal of the project.
Quedó claro. Yo lo entendí así, como usted lo acaba de explicar, pero era necesario reforzar para que no vaya a haber una mala interpretación. Yo desde un principio entendí que vivir restaurativamente es vivir en paz, poder llevar una vida de bienestar, poder tener las capacidades de desarrollar su proyecto de vida, que su vida no se estanque, que la persona pueda avanzar. Y morir en paz significa que la persona esté lista en su corazón, en su alma, con una paz, con un gozo y preparada delante de Dios, para que en el momento que Dios le llame a su presencia, la persona esté lista para morir, no solamente delante de su prójimo, de sus seres más cercanos, de sus seres queridos, sino también debemos estar preparados para partir de este mundo delante de Dios en el momento que Él lo considere. ¿Es correcto?
Sí. And I think for me also, I just wanted to mention, I've met people in my life as I've done this work who have done that forgiveness work. There was a woman who I met in Boston who forgave the two men who murdered her son. And and in that forgiveness, she has coffee. They went to prison and they got out. She has coffee with them once a year. And, she sends them Christmas cards. And these two men murdered her son. And she offered that forgiveness so she was able to not move through the world angry, wanting revenge, wanting retaliation, but instead offered herself that peace. And I've met countless people in those kind of situations, prisons, but also in conflict situations, who have offered that. And so for me, that has been a very profound understanding of what it means to offer that type of grace and forgiveness, because it's obviously not easy. And so, that is also definitely, as you said, the premise of just, who wants to move through the world angry and pissed off. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, because when we're like that, we're just causing more harm, not to everyone around us, but to ourselves. And so it is that healing that is allowed and encouraged. So.
Excelente, extraordinario. Ese ejemplo es muy claro y resume la esencia de su proyecto. Y quisiera agregar un último asunto acerca de este proyecto para pasar a nuestro siguiente tema. Solo Dios puede permitirle a una persona que ha sufrido estas violencias, estos traumas, esta degradación de sus derechos, de su dignidad, superar, seguir adelante, reconciliarse. Los psiquiatras más eruditos, los psicólogos con más altos títulos y estudios no son suficientes. Ese es mi aporte a este gran proyecto que lidera.